Hello. In this video, I had a question or two actually around how am I conveying the status information that appears in this blue bar at the top of my screen. Now, the blue bar at the top of the screen is actually an external application called Bar. It was, I think, previously called Lemon Bar, and its sole purpose is to render text in different formats and display them as you see here, and that includes everything that's here. This output on the right hand side is actually coming directly from Conky, but everything else here, here, and here is coming from fvwm itself. So I thought I'd explain how I'm achieving that. Now, I haven't actually gone to find out in which release I added this, but in fvwm3 only, there is a command called status, which you can set to on or off. And if it's off, it doesn't actually send any information. But if it's on, it will actually throw a JSON structure down a FIFO, which can then be read in. And the actual fields themselves are documented here, albeit somewhat loosely, but it will give you a representation of the version of the information that we're receiving, the screen that has the focus, assuming that one of the clients does, number of screens we've got, the specific monitor number which has been assigned, the current client if it has focus, and the desktops that are associated with that screen, and what their name is, the specific number, with these various properties about the windows which are on it. So if I were to just take a look at what that information looks like, let's have a look actually. So here, for instance, you can see that we have a structure and it's version 3. Current screen is HDMI1, which you can see up here is HDMI1. Desktop mode is per monitor, which I've also referenced up here, so I know whether I'm in per monitor or global mode, and the number of screens and number of desktops per screen. So for example, on this monitor, on desk 1, I've got 2 clients, that's true, this one and this one. This one here is current in the sense that the current desktop is desktop 1, and I have no urgent windows on this desk, so X urgency is a reference to say that a bell character has gone off and that window needs the attention. The current client is Xterm 3, which at the time I ran this was actually true, it was over here. And that's about it, and that information repeats for all connected monitors. So it's a generic way of knowing about what's happening on the system whenever certain events occur. So if I change focus, I will get more information being sent down in the same way, so that triggers an event. If I open a window, that will also do the same thing, etc., etc. So there's various trigger points within fvwm3 so that it knows when to send this information down. When it does so, it sends everything in its entirety, regardless of which screen you're on. So you always get the same information sent down, with whichever differences happen to trigger that. And once that's happened, you can just siphon off the JSON information from the FIFO and do whatever data manipulation is required. In my case here, what I'm doing is I'm going over this is a Perl script, by the way. I'm going over all the screens that have come down, and then I'm just doing some quick formatting for the purposes of this bar at the top to formulate the string that I'm going to send to it, with certain styling around the colors and what have you, and the position of where I want specific items to be, and then Lemon Bar just reads that and does what it needs to do. So this is just sort of implementation logic to manipulate the data that's already coming down here. So that's how I do that. The idea being that it's generic enough to cater for most people's preference, whether it's using a bar such as this, or I suppose you could use the same thing with polybar if you were so interested. So it's meant to be a generic way of providing information that could be turned into something useful. Now, the reason why this is a internal command to fvwm3 rather than a separate module is simply for the fact that although it maybe could have been done using the fvwm event module, the problem there is certain triggers will mean that the triggered action might not actually have all the information required about, say, whether or not there are windows with an urgency hint on them, or whether you can count the number of clients on a particular desk. And so, although it might seem overkill, that's the reason why this command is internal to fvwm3, because I can gather all that information up front rather than having to do something very clever and potentially quite complicated in writing an external module. So anyway, I hope that's useful. Give it a go and see what you think. In order to understand where this pipe happens to be, there is a environment variable that gets set by fvwm3 when you turn this command on, and it defaults to your temp directory with fwm3.pipe. So once you've done that, you can read from that and do whatever is appropriate. So I hope that's been useful. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.